I'm Jennifer Jellicoe. I spent some time touring Saskatchewan and found this province full of unexpected surprises. We have waterfalls, caves, sand dunes, and a living sky. The tour opened my eyes to the wonders of this province, to the 7 wonders to be exact. 7 special sites were chosen by a University of Saskatchewan geography lecturer. Glenn Grismer says there's much more than meets the eye in this province. You just have to look a little closer to find it. Let's explore the 7 wonders of Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan, a land many see as unending prairie, roads reaching the horizon, and open fields brought to life at harvest. What many don't see are wondrous spots hidden in our prairie landscape, waiting to be discovered. We have deserted dunes of blowing sand stretching across the northwest, and a southern oasis of cool green hills with arms that touch the sky. It's time to explore our backyard, a landscape overflowing with life and full of wonder.
You have to have a little more reverence, you have to be quieter, and you have to look a little closer to see some of the things in Saskatchewan that are wonderful to see. But when you do, it's well worth it.
U of S geography lecturer Glenn Grismer sent out a questionnaire asking people to name what they feel are the province's most unique and amazing places. The top choices would later become the 7 wonders of Saskatchewan.
8 two-hour lectures is what it was to really describe the landscape of Saskatchewan and also to talk about what's special about it. What do people in the province think is special, or what do they wonder at?
Wonder, a magical word rarely used. Glenn Grismer says there's a sense of wonder waiting to be experienced at each of the 7 sites. Let's start with the Valley of the Big Muddy, located straight south of Moose Jaw. A 50-kilometer stretch of smooth, silent, rounded hills dipping into the southeastern prairie landscape. The valley's features were carved by meltwater during the last ice age. A river used to flow right down to the Gulf of Mexico. When it began to dry up, settlers tried moving through the valley for supplies, but would often get stuck in what they called the Big Mud. Local Tilly Duncan is our Big Muddy guide. She's been showing off this hidden wonder to travelers from around the world for 7 years.
It always looks a little bit different, because the time of day makes a difference, and the time of year makes a difference, and of course the people make a difference.
Our first stop is Castle Butte, a distinguishable landmark once used to help the RCMP, settlers, and native tribes find their way across the prairies.
Castle Butte consists of sandstone. It consists of clay, a few coal deposits, and alkali.
The rugged structure stands 60 meters high and 200 meters around. Petrified wood is suspended in the cliff, and the sandstone formation rubs off like salt when touched. There are hundreds of little holes in the cliffs like this that are now just home to pigeons and small animals, I hope. Golden eagles can be spotted sailing overhead, and if you're lucky, you'll catch a glimpse of a vulture. The Big Muddy Badlands is a place to just wander and enjoy the beauty, or learn about the unique terrain that is always changing. To the untrained eye, the valley looks quite barren. But on a closer look, you'll see an abundance of vegetation not found in most areas of the province. Here you'll find cacti, gamma grass, sagebrushes, and echinacea growing wild. There are more than 100 species of wildflowers. The landscape is almost as intriguing as the valley's history.
This part of the country was one of the most notorious places north of Montana.
At the top of that hill is the Canada-U.S. border, and this proved to be the perfect landscape for outlaws to hide from the law. This cave dug into the hillside served as a hiding spot for Sundance Kid, the Wild Bunch, and Butch Cassidy. The cattle rustlers and train robbers shared this land with native tribes. This rock formation is difficult to see, but it's in the shape of a buffalo, called an effigy. It was built in the 1800s and surrounds a buried chief. It is the only known buffalo effigy in Canada. On our way out of the valley, a gap in the hills stands out on the horizon. Buffalo Gap was the passage these large animals stormed through on their journey across the plains. Valley of the Big Muddy is a mixture of unusual rock formations, rare vegetation, and colorful history. It truly is a hidden wonder on the prairie landscape. Now let's travel as far northwest as we can go to the Athabasca Sand Dunes. The dunes stretch 100 kilometers along the southern shore of Lake Athabasca. Athabasca Sand Dunes. Even the name sounds too exotic for Saskatchewan, but the sense of wonder we have at this vast area of living sand left behind when the last glacier melted is why it was chosen as one of the 7 wonders.
If you can imagine in northern Saskatchewan, where you picture endless forest and lakes, coming upon a very large area of bright, unvegetated, moving with the wind sand dunes.
This is the largest area of active sand dunes in Canada and the most northern dunes in the world. The Athabasca sand dunes reach heights of 30 meters and then slope down to touch one of several river systems snaking through the sand. In some spots, lush green forest serves as a border, and in other areas, trees stand out like dead sticks as the sand moves forward.
The Athabasca sand dunes are about as natural as you get. And because they're dynamic, you have a sense when you're there that you might very well be the first person who ever went into some parts of it.
The area is preserved as a provincial wilderness park. It's accessible only by air or boat, which is why few people have seen the dunes, and few probably ever will. There are many other wondrous sights in Saskatchewan, closer to home, that we can all experience firsthand. Our next site is one of them. The Last Mountain Lake Wildlife Preserve is nestled right in the heart of the prairies.
It's right there under our noses, and most people don't even know it's there.
The northern tip of the lake is about 40 kilometers south of Watrous.
If you're at all interested in natural landscape and seeing lots of birds, this is the place to be in Saskatchewan.
This bird sanctuary is North America's oldest national wildlife area. It was designated by Sir John A. Macdonald back in 1887. It remains a protected natural haven today.
It's one of a few places where you can have a sense of what it must have been like to be here 100 years ago.
Every fall, the marshland is overwhelmed with life as hundreds of thousands of geese, ducks, and cranes stop to rest and feed. More than 250 species of birds live and migrate through this area every year. It can be still and quiet like it is behind me right now, and in the next instant the skies become alive with thousands of birds.
Being in the presence of that much life is part of the wonder. We sometimes are reminded that we're not really separate from all of the other living things in the world. And when you go to a place like Last Mountain Reserve, you clearly get that sense.
Even if you're not an avid bird watcher, Last Mountain Lake is a place to relax and enjoy the tranquil scenery.
Something so close, they don't realize how special it is.
There are ongoing efforts to restore native grasses and wildflowers so a variety of endangered birds will return to the area. It's another reason why the Last Mountain Lake Wildlife Preserve will always remain a wonder of Saskatchewan. This time we travel 350 kilometers north of Prince Albert to Nestoyac Falls. The 10-meter drop of clear, rushing water flows into the Churchill River. University of Saskatchewan geography lecturer Glenn Grismer chose Nestoyac Falls as one of the 7 wonders of Saskatchewan because of its isolated yet powerful presence on this flat prairie landscape.
Nestoyac Falls, for those who want to take a boat trip or a canoe trip or whatnot just to get into them, provides you with a sense of surprise. A lot of people, if they don't know they're there and come upon them, are surprised. Oh, we have waterfalls in Saskatchewan. And then, like all falls, I think what people are saying they're attracted by is the presence of power. When the water crashes down through that narrow little gorge, it's not water anymore, it's froth. It's white, and the sound is incredible. You can stand on the rocks and reach out and touch the water. I think people have a sense of wonder when they know they're insignificant sometimes.
The beauty of Nestoyac Falls extends to the winter, when the rushing water and rising mist is replaced with glimmering cliffs of white ice. It is an adventure to reach Nestoyac Falls, but this hidden wonder set in the province's northern forest is well worth the trip. From a refreshing waterfall to what's often called the oasis on the prairies, Cypress Hills is our next wonder of Saskatchewan. The Cypress Hills Interprovincial Park is situated in the extreme southwestern part of Saskatchewan and extends over the border into Alberta. As you drive from the north, you see it rise above the flat prairie landscape, an area of forest, wildlife, and vegetation similar to what's found in the Rocky Mountains.
Because of our forest environment, we're kind of an oasis on the prairies.
The park was established in 1931. Thousands of visitors seek refuge in the cool lodgepole pine forest. This is the only place in Saskatchewan where you can find the lodgepole pine. The climate and the elevation keep these pines reaching for the sky. These trees that compete for the sunlight are a distinguishing characteristic of the area.
And what you see is very tall, slim tree trunks that are all about the same height and elevation, and most of their foliage or branches are at the tops of the trees. And underneath that, where it's shaded, those branches die and drop off because they don't get enough sunlight.
When the acidic lodgepole pine needles fall to the forest floor, they make it difficult for many plants to grow. But when mixed with aspen, white spruce, and other trees, rare wildflowers such as orchids come to life. These hills of forest stretch a span of more than 200 square kilometers. The hills were formed millions of years ago and survived the most recent ice age intact because the hills contain a layer of protective rock the glaciers couldn't cut through.
This is one of the spectacular features of the Cypress Hills. This conglomerate rock formation caps the top of the Cypress Hills. So when we look back in geologic times, this forms a protective layer that has protected the Cypress Hills from erosion, from the elements, and from glacial activity.
The 30-meter cobblestone layer is cemented together by a substance in the soil called calcium carbonate. From ancient rock to native prairie grass, these 1,000-year-old fescue grasslands have never been cultivated. As we peer out at the distant prairie from a Cypress Hills hilltop, it's hard to believe there's a point of land this high in Saskatchewan. Right now I'm standing on Bald Butte, and not counting the Rockies, this is one of the highest spots of elevation in Canada. See those prairies behind me? That's what most of us are used to. I'm 650 meters above that. To give some perspective, Bald Butte is the same elevation as the town site of Banff. Because of these unique geographical elements, Cypress Hills, our mountains on the prairies, was the most popular choice as a wonder of Saskatchewan. Let's head back up north, where the Clearwater River flows through the forest and disappears into Alberta. The Clearwater is Saskatchewan's first protected river, once used as a route for fur traders. It remains a clear, pristine, relatively untouched river system. It was chosen by U of S geography lecturer Glenn Grismer as our next wonder of Saskatchewan.
Although we had a number of river systems identified to us, the Clearwater was the first pick because it hasn't been developed. Although it's been used probably longer historically than any other river in the province, it doesn't have dams and control structures and so forth on it. It hasn't been diverted. It's just there. It's a pretty much pristine. It has a grand valley in a beautiful setting. It's rugged. It throws surprises at you. It reminds you that you're on the river, and you have to have due respect for all the energy that's there. And if you do, it rewards you with a wonderful time.
The Clearwater follows a predetermined path carved by glacial water, and although it flows through a majestic setting of rock canyons and open spruce forest, the wonder is with the river itself.
It's an interesting river because it seems to encompass just about everything that a river has to offer. In parts of it, it's fairly level with a huge, broad floodplain, and you can be canoeing almost in circles to get anywhere as the river meanders back and forth. And in other places, it has rapids and steep gorges and waterfalls. You couldn't get a whole lot more variety than what you get on the Clearwater. And it is an expedition to go there. Again, it's one of those places where if you go there, you won't be in a crowd. You will be able to enjoy the river system in its natural condition.
This unspoiled rush of water that eventually flows to the Arctic Ocean can only be reached by floatplane or by foot. Our final wonder of Saskatchewan is one we've all experienced and often take for granted. It's a magical piece of the landscape that surrounds us at all times and is ever changing. To see it, all you have to do is look up. The sky. There's no map to define its location or its size. It's older than any other wonder and will never cease to exist.
The sky it's dynamic, it's inspiring.
Glenn Grismer says Saskatchewan's location on planet Earth provides us with the most wonderful and unique sky in the world. Weather patterns and wildlife are in constant change as each season blends into the next.
We get dust storms, or we get rainstorms, snowstorms, sleet, every kind of weather you can imagine. Slate gray sky over us for 3 days, or blue sky for weeks on end. Sundogs and moondogs and aurora borealis and, oh heavens, it doesn't stop. We have lingering sunsets here. You don't get that closer to the equator, and you don't get it further north. We're at just the right latitude for some of the best sunsets. And when we have an atmosphere that has dust and so forth from a continent in it, the sunsets are more spectacular than you would get anywhere else.
The Saskatchewan sky can be full of color, alive with activity. You never know what it will offer next.
If you lay down and look up and let your eyes focus for a bit, sometimes it's surprising how far up you'll see birds that you didn't know were even there. And there's like this column of life above you. So the sky isn't a lifeless thing of just air and water. There's a lot of life up there.
The sky is a natural wonder that's just there for the taking.
And so of all the things that are identified as 7 wonders, the sky is unique in that it also has a mystical component about it.
Saskatchewan is known as the land of living skies, but like many other wondrous things, it's something we too often take for granted. The 7 wonders of Saskatchewan. Who knew all these sights were in our backyard? Some easy to find, others take a bit of planning. But these wonders are only a taste of Saskatchewan's many marvels. Now it's up to you how you choose to experience the wondrous things around you.
Although we made ourselves pick 7 wonders, Each of these wonders is an example of other kinds of things that are out there. And plan some holidays for Saskatchewan. Nice bed and breakfast, nice little hotels and motels here and there. Roads to almost everywhere. And when you get there, some of the nicest people you're ever going to meet. So go for it. Hang out in Saskatchewan, see some wonderful things.
It's hard to believe such amazing wonders exist in Saskatchewan, but they do. And there are many other beautiful and unique sights waiting to be experienced. Let's travel now to one more spot, a grove of twisted poplar trees left standing untouched in a farmer's field near Hafford, Saskatchewan. The crooked trees is an eerie phenomenon that's baffled scientists for decades.
Aspen poplars are a common sight on the prairies, but these aspens don't exactly look normal. To locals, they're known as the crooked trees. Estimated at around 70 years old, these trees are only 4 to 6 meters high. What is fascinating is that these twists, turns, and curves of trunks and branches seem to be isolated to this one grove. Just a few meters away, similar trees show no sign of distortion. Over the years, many theories have developed. Some believe the twisted trees are supernatural. Some speculate a meteorite landed here, changing the soil chemistry. Others conclude it's a freak of nature.
They're all twisted and distorted, which means that the mechanism that normally controls the growth in poplars is somehow distorted. And that could certainly happen as a result of a gene mutation.
In fact, experts found these characteristics in France, but in beech trees, lending credence to the altered gene theory. Now, although there is a scientific explanation as to why the trees grow the way they do here, one can't help but get a sense of enchantment or even eeriness.
Well, you have mixed reactions. One lady said, I wouldn't even want to get caught here around Halloween because it almost looks like these Frankenstein pictures that you see, or Hansel and Gretel type of pictures you see. Others, they have all sorts of ideas about the whole thing, but they don't want to go in here after the dark, they say.
Now, this natural wonder isn't on any map or any travel brochure, but if you're willing to take the time and possibly some country back roads, you'll find something that is very unique.
This is only a taste of what Saskatchewan has to offer. I hope you see the province in a new light and will tell others about the 7 wonders of Saskatchewan and the many other hidden treasures on our landscape waiting to be discovered.